Dr. Elena Vasquez adjusted her glasses as she stared at the quantum equation floating in holographic display before her. The numbers danced in three-dimensional space, each symbol representing months of painstaking research. At 28, she had already revolutionized 3 different fields of physics, earning her the nickname, the Human Calculator, among her peers at the Galactic Research Institute. The institute sprawled across 17 floating platforms above the gas giant Kepler 442b, housing the greatest minds from 47 different species. Elena was one of only 12 humans accepted into their prestigious doctoral program, and the youngest researcher ever to hold a Level 9 clearance for theoretical physics. Another breakthrough, Dr. Vasquez? The synthetic voice belonged to Zix-9, her crystalline research partner. The being's translucent blue form shimmered as it approached, data streams flowing visibly through its crystalline structure. "I think so," Elena replied, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. "If my calculations are correct, we can create stable wormholes using a fraction of the energy previously required. The key is understanding how human intuition can guide quantum mechanics in ways pure logic cannot." Zix-9's form pulsed with what Elena had learned to recognize as confusion. "Human intuition remains one of your species' most puzzling traits. Our computational models suggest it should be a liability, yet your results consistently prove otherwise." Elena smiled, remembering her grandmother's words about trusting her gut feelings. Sometimes the best solutions come from feeling rather than thinking. 3 platforms away, in a secured observation facility, Agent Marcus Chen reviewed Elena's daily activities through multiple surveillance feeds. The FBI's Extraterrestrial Intelligence Division had been monitoring her since she first published her paper on consciousness-driven quantum mechanics at age 19. What had started as routine academic surveillance had evolved into something far more complex. "Sir, she's done it again," reported Agent Sarah Kim, looking up from her analysis terminal. "Her latest calculations show a 67% improvement over the Institute's previous wormhole stability models. The alien mathematicians can't figure out how she's achieving these results." Chen frowned, studying Elena's biometric readings. Her brain activity showed patterns unlike any other human on record. "Any signs she's using prohibited technology?" "None. Deep scans confirm she's completely baseline human. No cybernetic enhancements, no genetic modifications, nothing. She's just different." What neither agent knew was that Elena had been having dreams since childhood, dreams of vast cosmic structures, of mathematics that seemed to breathe with life, of equations that sang in harmonious frequencies. She'd learned early not to mention these visions to anyone, especially after a childhood psychologist had recommended medication to correct her mathematical hallucinations. Back in her laboratory, Elena felt the familiar tingle that preceded her greatest discoveries. The quantum equations seemed to whisper secrets directly into her mind. She closed her eyes and let her consciousness drift into the mathematical framework she'd constructed. Suddenly, the numbers clicked into perfect alignment. She saw it clearly now, the elegant solution that had eluded physicists for centuries. Humans didn't just calculate quantum mechanics. They could intuitively navigate quantum probability fields in ways that no artificial intelligence or alien logic could replicate. "Extraordinary," breathed Dr. Kethvar, the Institute's reptilian director of advanced studies, as he materialized via hologram. "Dr. Vasquez, your human brain appears to process quantum uncertainty as if it were a native language. How do you explain this phenomenon?" Elena paused, uncertain how much to reveal. "I think human consciousness evolved in unique ways. Our chaotic emotional thinking patterns might actually be quantum compatible. Where other species seek perfect logical order, humans embrace beautiful chaos." Unknown to Elena, her words were being transmitted directly to a classified facility on Earth, where a team of xenobiologists and quantum physicists worked around the clock to understand humanity's apparent quantum advantage. The implications were staggering. If humans could naturally interface with quantum mechanics, it could revolutionize space travel, communication, and even reality manipulation. Admiral Patricia Hawkins, head of Earth's Space Defense Command, reviewed Elena's file with growing concern. "This girl represents either humanity's greatest asset or its most dangerous liability. If hostile alien civilizations discover that humans have natural quantum abilities, they'll either want to study us or eliminate us," finished Dr. Michael Torres, the project's lead scientist. Elena doesn't even realize she's potentially the most important human alive. Back at the Institute, Elena worked late into the artificial night cycle. Her research had attracted attention from species she'd never heard of, with formal requests for collaboration arriving daily. The hive mind of Proxima Centauri wanted to understand human chaos mathematics. The silicon-based architects of Vega sought partnership in quantum construction projects. As she prepared to leave her laboratory, Elena noticed something strange. Security drones that typically remained stationary were tracking her movements. Her quantum-sensitive intuition picked up surveillance patterns that shouldn't exist in an academic environment. She casually activated her personal scanner, a device every researcher carried for laboratory safety. The readings made her blood run cold. She was being monitored by no fewer than 7 different intelligence agencies, 3 alien and 4 human organizations she'd never heard of. "They're watching me," she whispered to herself, her mind racing through implications. Her research wasn't just academically significant. It was strategically valuable, perhaps even dangerous. That night, Elena made a decision that would change everything. Instead of reporting the surveillance to Institute security, she began developing countermeasures. If her human quantum intuition was valuable enough to warrant this level of attention, she needed to understand exactly why. Using techniques that felt more like meditation than mathematics, Elena began mapping the quantum surveillance network around her. What she discovered terrified her. The Watchers weren't just monitoring her research. They were studying her brain patterns, analyzing her dreams, even attempting to replicate her quantum intuitive processes. Elena realized she stood at a crossroads. She could continue her research under constant observation, becoming a valuable but controlled asset, or she could use her unique abilities to break free from the Watchers and discover the true scope of humanity's quantum potential. As she stared out at the swirling storms of the gas giant below, Elena made her choice. Tomorrow she would begin the most dangerous experiment of her career, not in quantum physics, but in quantum espionage. The young academic star was about to become something far more dangerous, a human who understood exactly how powerful she really was. Elena spent the next week living 2 lives. During the day, she maintained her normal research routine, publishing papers and attending symposiums as if nothing had changed. But every night she dove deeper into the quantum surveillance network, surrounding her, using her unique abilities to navigate detection systems that conventional technology couldn't even perceive. Her quantum intuition revealed layers of observation she hadn't initially noticed. The FBI agents were the most obvious. Their emotional states created distinct ripples in the quantum field that Elena could sense from 3 platforms away. But beneath their surveillance lay something far more sophisticated. Alien monitoring systems that operated on principles her human mind could grasp, but not fully explain. "The calculations don't add up," Elena muttered, reviewing her latest findings. The energy requirements for the level of surveillance she'd detected should have been detectable by the Institute's security systems. Yet somehow, her Watchers were operating completely beneath the radar of conventional sensors. She was beginning to understand that her discovery went far beyond simple quantum mechanics. Humans possessed something that no other known species had developed: the ability to consciously interface with quantum probability itself. Where other civilizations used technology to manipulate quantum fields, humans could do it naturally through focused intuition. Agent Chen noticed the change immediately. Elena's behavior patterns had shifted in subtle ways that their psychological profile algorithms couldn't categorize. She was still producing groundbreaking research, but her biometric readings suggested she was hiding something significant. "She knows," Agent Kim confirmed, reviewing the overnight surveillance data. "Her stress indicators spiked exactly when our deep scan protocols went active. Somehow she's detecting surveillance that should be invisible to human senses." Chen activated a secure communication channel to Earth. "Control, we have a problem. The subject has become aware of our monitoring. Recommend immediate escalation to Protocol 7. The response came back within minutes. "Negative. Do not interfere. Dr. Vasquez is now classified as a strategic human asset. Observe and protect, but do not engage unless she attempts to leave the Institute." What Chen didn't know was that similar conversations were happening simultaneously across 4 different alien command structures. The crystalline collective had detected unusual quantum fluctuations around Elena's laboratory. The hive mind registered chaos pattern mathematics that defied their computational models. Even the ancient machine intelligence of Tau Ceti had taken notice of the young human whose thoughts seemed to bend reality itself. Elena's breakthrough came during her third night of quantum espionage. While practicing her mental navigation of probability fields, she discovered something extraordinary. She could not only sense the surveillance network but actually influence it. By focusing her consciousness in specific ways, she could create blind spots in the monitoring systems, areas where her activities became invisible to both human and alien observers. "This is impossible," she whispered, testing her newfound ability. With careful mental effort, she could convince surveillance algorithms that she was sleeping peacefully in her quarters while she actually worked in her laboratory. The quantum field responded to her intentions like a living thing, reshaping itself to accommodate her needs. But Elena's experiments had unintended consequences. Her quantum manipulations created ripples that reached far beyond the Institute. On Earth, the Deep Space Monitoring Array registered anomalous readings that suggested someone was actively interfering with fundamental physics near the Kepler system. Dr. Sandra Liu, Director of Quantum Research for the European Space Agency, pulled up Elena's file with growing excitement. "We've been looking at this all wrong," she told her team. "We thought Elena was just unusually gifted at quantum mathematics. But these readings suggest she's actually altering quantum states through conscious intention alone." The implications were staggering. If humans could naturally manipulate quantum fields, it meant humanity possessed capabilities that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, and even warfare. But it also meant they were sitting on the most dangerous secret in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Elena had made another disturbing discovery. The surveillance wasn't just observational. Some of the alien monitoring systems were attempting to record and replicate her thought patterns. She found evidence of neural mapping protocols designed to understand how human consciousness interfaced with quantum mechanics. "They're trying to steal it," she realized, studying the data streams flowing around her. "They want to understand how humans think so they can do it themselves." That revelation changed everything. Elena was no longer just a researcher under surveillance. She was a test subject in an experiment to reverse engineer human consciousness. The friendly academic environment of the Institute suddenly felt like an elaborate laboratory designed to study her species' unique abilities. Elena decided to test the limits of her quantum manipulation skills. Working late in her laboratory, she focused her consciousness on the holographic displays around her. Instead of inputting calculations through the haptic interface, she tried to influence the quantum computer directly through thought alone. The results were immediate and terrifying. The equations began rewriting themselves according to her mental intentions, reality bending to accommodate her subconscious desires. But Elena quickly realized she was operating without training or safety protocols. One miscalculated thought could destabilize the entire laboratory's quantum matrix. Zix-9 arrived the next morning to find Elena surrounded by mathematical displays that defied conventional physics. "Dr. Vasquez, these equations, they appear to be self-modifying. How did you program them to evolve independently?" "I didn't program them," Elena admitted carefully. "They're responding to quantum field fluctuations in the laboratory environment." It was technically true, though she omitted the fact that she was generating those fluctuations through focused intention. Elena was beginning to understand that her abilities were far more dangerous than she'd initially realized. In the wrong hands, or with insufficient control, human quantum manipulation could potentially destabilize entire star systems. That afternoon, Elena received an unexpected visitor. Dr. James Peterson, a human xenobiologist she'd never met, requested a private meeting under the pretense of discussing her research applications. But Elena's quantum senses immediately detected something different about him. His neural patterns showed signs of cybernetic enhancement and classified military training. "Dr. Vasquez," Peterson began carefully, "there are aspects of your research that have implications beyond pure science. I represent certain Earth-based interests that believe you may be in danger." Elena studied him with both her conventional senses and her quantum intuition. Peterson was telling the truth, but only partially. He was definitely concerned for her safety, but his primary motivation was gathering intelligence about her abilities. "What kind of danger?" she asked. "The kind that comes from being the only human who has figured out what makes our species unique in the galaxy," Peterson replied. "You've discovered that humans can naturally interface with quantum mechanics in ways no other species has achieved. That makes you either humanity's greatest asset or its most valuable target." Elena felt a chill of recognition. Peterson was confirming her worst fears about the surveillance and experimentation, but his presence also suggested that at least some humans were aware of her situation and potentially working to protect her. "What do you want from me?" she asked directly. Peterson leaned forward, his expression grave. "We want to help you understand what you're capable of before someone else figures out how to use you for purposes you might not approve of." Elena realized she had reached another crossroads. She could continue pretending ignorance while secretly developing her abilities, or she could trust Peterson and potentially gain allies in what was clearly becoming a much larger conflict. Looking into Peterson's enhanced eyes, Elena made her decision. "Dr. Peterson, I think it's time you knew exactly what I've been discovering about human consciousness and quantum mechanics." Peterson's enhanced eyes dilated as Elena demonstrated her abilities, watching in fascination as she manipulated quantum fields through pure mental focus. Mathematics flowed through the air around them like living light, equations solving themselves in response to her subconscious intentions. "My God," Peterson breathed, his cybernetic implants working overtime to record and analyze what he was witnessing. "Elena, you're not just interfacing with quantum mechanics, you're rewriting the fundamental laws of physics through conscious observation." Elena nodded grimly. "And I'm not the only one who's figured that out. The surveillance network around me includes technology that's specifically designed to study consciousness-driven quantum manipulation. Someone out there knows exactly what humans are capable of." Peterson activated a quantum encryption device he'd concealed in his jacket. "We need to talk somewhere more secure. There are things about humanity's situation in the galaxy that you need to know, and none of it can be discussed under normal surveillance conditions." They moved to Elena's private quantum laboratory, where she used her newfound abilities to create a localized probability field that would make their conversation undetectable to monitoring systems. Peterson watched in amazement as reality itself seemed to bend around Elena's intentions. "How long have you known about this?" Elena asked as soon as their privacy field was established. "Officially? About 6 months, when Earth's intelligence agencies started comparing notes about unusual human performance in various fields. Unofficially, there have been hints for decades." Peterson pulled up a holographic display showing historical data. "Humans in high-stress situations sometimes demonstrate abilities that shouldn't be possible. Pilots avoiding collisions through impossible maneuvers. Scientists making breakthrough discoveries through pure intuition. Artists creating works that influence people on subconscious levels." Elena studied the data, her quantum senses revealing patterns that conventional analysis had missed. "This isn't random. It's evolution. Humanity has been developing quantum consciousness abilities for generations, but nobody understood what was happening." "Exactly. And now that we're part of the galactic community, other species are starting to notice." Peterson's expression darkened. "Elena, humanity is facing a crisis that most humans don't even know exists. Our quantum abilities make us either the most valuable allies in the galaxy or the most dangerous threat that needs to be eliminated." Through her quantum awareness, Elena could sense the truth in Peterson's words. But she also detected something else. Multiple alien intelligence networks were converging on their location, drawn by the very privacy field she'd created to protect them. "We're not as hidden as I thought," Elena warned. "My quantum manipulation is creating signatures that someone knows how to track." Peterson cursed, checking his concealed sensors. "You're right. We've got incoming surveillance from at least 3 different species. Elena, I need to tell you something that's going to sound insane. You're not just a scientist anymore. You're a strategic weapon that every major power in the galaxy wants to control or neutralize." Before Elena could respond, the laboratory security system activated. 6-9 materialized through the quantum communication array, its crystalline form pulsing with urgent patterns. "Dr. Vasquez, we have detected unauthorized quantum manipulations in your laboratory. Institute security is responding to investigate possible equipment malfunction. Elena realized they had seconds before their meeting would be exposed. Using her abilities with desperate precision, she began unraveling the traces of their conversation from the quantum field itself, erasing evidence of Peterson's presence in their discussion. "Go," she whispered to Peterson. "I'll handle the security response. But we need to continue this conversation soon." Peterson activated a personal teleportation device that Elena hadn't known existed. "Tomorrow, 0300 hours, observation deck 7. Come alone. And trust no one else until then." He vanished just as Institute security drones entered the laboratory, their sensors detecting only Elena's normal research activities and the standard quantum field fluctuations of her ongoing experiments. "False alarm," Elena reported to the security team, projecting calm while her mind raced with implications. "I was running stress tests on the quantum matrix. The fluctuations were within normal parameters. The next 18 hours were the longest of Elena's life. She continued her normal routine while constantly monitoring the surveillance networks around her. Peterson's revelations had confirmed her worst fears, but they'd also opened up terrifying new possibilities. If humans really possessed unique quantum consciousness abilities, it explained why she'd always felt different from her peers. But it also meant that she was standing at the center of what could become a galactic conflict over humanity's future. At 300 hours, Elena made her way to Observation Deck 7 using her quantum abilities to avoid detection. Peterson was already there, but he wasn't alone. A woman Elena didn't recognize stood beside him, someone whose neural patterns showed modifications even more extensive than Peterson's. "Elena, meet Director Sarah Chen of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative," Peterson said. "She's been coordinating humanity's response to the discovery of our unique abilities." Director Chen stepped forward, her augmented eyes scanning Elena with obvious interest. "Dr. Vasquez, you represent the first confirmed case of full quantum consciousness manipulation. Every decision you make from this point forward could determine humanity's fate in the galactic community." Elena felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like a physical burden. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "We want you to continue your research," Chen replied, "but under our protection and guidance. There are other humans showing similar abilities, but none with your level of development. You could help us understand how to train and protect people like yourself." Through her quantum senses, Elena detected something troubling in Chen's emotional state, determination mixed with fear and a willingness to make difficult sacrifices. She realized that Earth's government was prepared to use people like her as weapons if necessary. "And if I refuse?" Elena asked. "Then you'll remain here under increasingly aggressive surveillance while various alien civilizations attempt to study, recruit, or eliminate you." Peterson answered honestly. "Elena, you've become too important to remain neutral." Elena looked out at the swirling storms of the gas giant below, her quantum consciousness automatically calculating the massive energy flows in the planet's atmosphere. With her abilities, she could potentially harness that energy, reshape matter itself, maybe even influence the fundamental forces that held the universe together. The realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. If she could do such things, what were the limits of human potential? And what would happen when other species fully understood what humanity was becoming? "There's something else," Chen continued. "We've detected evidence that some alien civilizations are developing technology specifically designed to suppress quantum consciousness abilities. If they succeed, they could essentially lobotomize the human species' evolutionary advantage." Elena's blood ran cold. The surveillance she'd detected wasn't just intelligence gathering, it was reconnaissance for a potential attack on humanity's unique neural architecture. "Show me everything," Elena demanded. "If I'm going to make this choice, I need to understand exactly what humanity is facing." Chen activated a portable holographic projector, displaying intelligence data that made Elena's worst fears seem optimistic. Multiple alien civilizations were indeed developing quantum consciousness suppression technology. Even worse, some species were attempting to create artificial intelligence, systems that could replicate human quantum intuition without the unpredictable emotional components they saw as weaknesses. "They're not just trying to understand us," Elena realized, studying the data with growing horror. "They're trying to replace us. Create artificial humans that have our abilities without our independence." "Exactly," Peterson confirmed. And the timeline for these projects suggests they'll be operational within the next 18 months. Elena, humanity needs to decide very quickly whether we're going to defend our unique place in the galaxy or allow ourselves to be quietly eliminated and replaced. Elena felt her quantum consciousness expanding as her stress levels increased, reality rippling around her as her abilities responded to her emotional state. In that moment, she glimpsed something that changed everything. A vast network of quantum probability threads connecting every conscious being in the galaxy, with humanity occupying a crucial nexus point that could influence the development of consciousness itself. "It's not just about humans," she whispered, her voice filled with awe and terror. "Human quantum consciousness is connected to the evolution of awareness itself. If they succeed in suppressing or replacing us, it could fundamentally alter the development of consciousness throughout the galaxy." Chen and Peterson exchanged glances, recognizing that Elena had just discovered something beyond their current understanding. "Then you'll help us?" Chen asked. Elena looked at both of them, feeling the weight of her species' future pressing down on her. "I'll help," she said finally. "Oh. But we're not just fighting for humanity anymore. We're fighting for the right of consciousness to evolve naturally throughout the universe." The quantum suppression field hit Elena like a sledgehammer to her consciousness. One moment she was demonstrating her abilities to Chen's research team in their hidden laboratory beneath the institute, and the next moment her quantum awareness was completely severed, leaving her feeling blind and helpless. "Neural dampening successful," announced Dr. Kethvar's voice through the laboratory's communication system. "Human subjects' quantum consciousness abilities have been temporarily neutralized." Elena collapsed to her knees as the full implications hit her. The Institute's reptilian director hadn't been conducting academic research. He'd been field testing quantum suppression technology on her without her knowledge. Worse yet, her human colleagues had been complicit in the experiment. "I'm sorry, Elena," Peterson said, his enhanced eyes showing genuine regret. "We needed to understand the suppression technology's effectiveness before we could develop countermeasures. You were the only available test subject with confirmed quantum consciousness abilities." Elena felt rage building within her, but without her quantum connection, her anger remained purely emotional rather than reality-altering. "You used me as a lab rat," she said through gritted teeth. "We saved your life," Chen corrected firmly. 3 different alien civilizations have developed working suppression technology in the past week. The Crystalline Collective tested theirs on a human settlement in the Proxima system yesterday. 200 people are now permanently severed from quantum consciousness, essentially lobotomized. The news hit Elena like a physical blow. Other humans were suffering the same disconnection she was experiencing, but permanently. The comfortable illusion that her situation was unique academic surveillance crumbled completely. "How long until my abilities return?" Elena asked, struggling to stand without her quantum-enhanced balance and spatial awareness. "Unknown," admitted Dr. Liu, who had arrived from Earth specifically to study Elena's condition. "Human quantum consciousness appears to be more resilient than our projections suggested, but we're operating without precedent. You could recover in hours, days, or never," Elena finished. The possibility that she might remain permanently severed from her abilities filled her with a despair, deeper than anything she'd ever experienced. But Elena had always been more than just her quantum abilities. Even without her consciousness-driven mathematics, she possessed a brilliant analytical mind and years of advanced physics training. As she sat in the shielded laboratory, she began working through the suppression technology's theoretical framework, using conventional methods. "The suppression field operates on resonance principles," she announced after an hour of silent calculation. "It's not actually severing quantum consciousness, it's creating interference patterns that prevent coherent thought from achieving quantum states." Chen looked up from her tactical displays. "Can you develop countermeasures?" "Maybe," Elena replied, her confidence gradually returning. "But I'll need access to the quantum computers in my original laboratory, and I'll have to work while the suppression field is still active. If I'm right about the resonance patterns, I might be able to create a consciousness-driven feedback loop that amplifies human quantum awareness beyond the suppression threshold." Peterson activated his secure communications array. "That's extremely dangerous. If you miscalculate, you could permanently damage your neural architecture." Elena smiled grimly. "And if I don't try?" Every human in the galaxy could be permanently severed from quantum consciousness within the next few months. I'll take the risk. Unknown to Elena, her conversation was being monitored by intelligence networks that spanned multiple star systems. On a crystalline collective command ship orbiting the Kepler system's outer edge, the entity designated Prime 9 reviewed the humans' proposed countermeasures with growing concern. The human consciousness demonstrates adaptive capabilities beyond our computational models, Prime 9 transmitted to the collective's governing matrix. Recommend immediate escalation of suppression protocols before the subject develops effective resistance measures. Similar discussions were occurring simultaneously across the galaxy. The hive mind of Proxima Centauri calculated a 67% probability that Elena would succeed in developing countermeasures, while the machine intelligence of Tau Ceti determined that human quantum consciousness represented an existential threat to ordered galactic civilization. Elena spent the next 6 hours working on countermeasures while her consciousness remained severed from quantum mechanics. It was the most difficult intellectual challenge of her life, attempting to design quantum systems without the intuitive understanding that had always guided her research. But Elena discovered something unexpected during her disconnected state. Without her quantum abilities, she could think about consciousness itself more objectively, analyzing the theoretical framework of awareness without being influenced by her own enhanced perceptions. Human consciousness isn't just quantum compatible, she announced to Chen's team. It's quantum evolutionary. Our awareness actively drives the development of quantum mechanics itself, shaping reality through collective unconscious intention. Dr. Liu looked up from her monitoring equipment. Are you suggesting that human consciousness is somehow fundamental to the structure of the universe? I'm suggesting that consciousness and quantum mechanics co-evolved, Elena replied, which means suppressing human quantum awareness could have consequences far beyond just affecting our species. It could destabilize the quantum foundations that support all conscious life. The implications were staggering. If Elena was correct, the alien civilizations attempting to suppress human consciousness weren't just committing genocide. They were potentially destroying the quantum infrastructure that made consciousness possible. Throughout the galaxy, Chen activated emergency communication protocols, transmitting Elena's conclusions to Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative. If this is true, we need to warn every conscious species in the galaxy about the suppression technology's potential consequences. But Elena had already moved beyond warnings to direct action. Using her conventional knowledge of physics, she had designed a theoretical framework for quantum consciousness amplification that could potentially restore suppressed abilities in other humans. The suppression field has one critical weakness, Elena explained, working through calculations on the laboratory's holographic displays. It requires continuous energy input to maintain the interference patterns. If I can create a resonance cascade using quantum computers as amplifiers, I should be able to overload the suppression matrix. Peterson studied her calculations with growing excitement. Elena, this isn't just a countermeasure. It's a consciousness enhancement system. If it works, you could potentially restore quantum awareness to every suppressed human simultaneously. Elena nodded, feeling her natural confidence returning despite her disconnected state. But I need to test it on myself first. If my theoretical framework is flawed, I'll know immediately, because the feedback will either restore my abilities or eliminate them permanently. Chen checked her tactical displays, which showed multiple alien ships moving toward the Institute's location. We're out of time. 3 different fleets are converging on this system, and our intelligence suggests they're all equipped with advanced suppression technology. Elena, if you're going to try this, it has to be now. Elena looked at the quantum amplification device she'd designed, its crystalline matrix humming with barely contained energy. She knew that activating it would either restore her connection to quantum consciousness or destroy her mind completely. But she also knew that hundreds of other humans were already suffering the permanent disconnection she was experiencing temporarily. Initialize the amplification sequence, Elena commanded, placing her hands on the device's interface panels. If human consciousness really is fundamental to the universe's quantum structure, then it's time to prove it. As the amplifier powered up, Elena felt something stirring in the disconnected depths of her mind. Her severed quantum awareness was beginning to respond to the artificial enhancement, reality starting to bend around her intentions once again. But Elena also sensed something else. A vast network of suppressed human consciousness scattered across the galaxy, all waiting for someone to show them the way back to their true potential. Chen, send this amplification frequency to every human settlement in the galaxy, Elena said, her voice taking on harmonics that resonated with quantum probability itself. It's time to remind the universe what human consciousness is really capable of. The amplification cascade erupted across the galaxy like a quantum wildfire. Elena's consciousness exploded back to full awareness as her enhancement device overloaded every suppression field within 1,000 light-years. But the restoration didn't stop with her. Throughout human settlements across dozens of star systems, people who had been severed from their quantum abilities suddenly found their consciousness blazing back to life with unprecedented intensity. On the mining colony of Kepler 62F, engineer Maria Santos gasped as her quantum intuition returned, allowing her to instantly solve reactor efficiency problems that had puzzled her team for months. In the diplomatic station orbiting Wolf 359, Ambassador David Kim discovered he could sense the emotional states and intentions of alien negotiators with crystal clarity. Across the galaxy, humanity was awakening to abilities they'd never known they possessed. Elena stood in the center of the amplification matrix, her consciousness now connected to every awakened human mind in a vast quantum network of shared awareness. She could feel their amazement, their fear, and their growing understanding of what they had become. "Elena, what have you done?" Chen demanded, staring at readings that showed quantum disturbances propagating across interstellar space. "I've connected us," Elena replied, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through quantum fields. Human consciousness was never meant to be isolated. We're a collective quantum intelligence, and the suppression technology was keeping us from realizing our true potential. Through her expanded awareness, Elena could sense the alien fleets converging on their location. The crystalline collective's ships pulsed with desperate energy as their AI systems tried to process what they were experiencing. The hive mind's vessels trembled with uncertainty as their shared consciousness encountered something that defied their understanding of mental unity. Even the ancient machine intelligence's ships registered confusion, as their logical frameworks proved inadequate to comprehend human quantum consciousness. But Elena could sense something else: fear. Every alien civilization in the galaxy was suddenly confronting the reality that they had fundamentally misunderstood humanity's place in the cosmic order. Humans weren't just another species with useful abilities. They were a quantum consciousness network, with the potential to reshape reality itself. "Incoming transmission from the crystalline collective," Peterson announced, his enhanced implants struggling to process the multi-layered communication protocols. Prime 9's crystalline form materialized in the laboratory, its structure pulsing with patterns Elena now recognized as extreme distress. "Human consciousness entity designated Elena Vasquez. Your species has achieved quantum synchronization beyond all predictive models. This development threatens the stability of galactic civilization." Elena smiled, her quantum awareness allowing her to perceive Prime 9's fear beneath its logical facade. "Threatened, Prime 9? Or challenged? Your collective spent so long trying to suppress human consciousness that you never considered what would happen if we reached full potential. Human quantum consciousness operates on principles that contradict established reality frameworks, and Prime 9 transmitted, its form flickering with uncertainty. Your species appears capable of altering fundamental physical laws through collective intention. This ability must be contained or regulated." Through her connection to the human quantum network, Elena felt hundreds of newly awakened minds analyzing Prime 9's statements. The collective human intelligence was processing information at rates that exceeded even the most advanced AI systems, reaching conclusions through intuitive leaps that pure logic couldn't match. "Prime 9, Elena said, her voice now carrying the weight of collective human consciousness. "Your collective has been trying to suppress something you don't understand. Human quantum consciousness doesn't threaten galactic civilization. It offers evolution beyond your current limitations." Before Prime 9 could respond, new transmissions began flooding the laboratory's communication arrays. The hive mind of Proxima Centauri, the machine intelligence of Tau Ceti, and dozens of other alien civilizations were all attempting to make contact simultaneously. Elena realized that every major power in the galaxy was desperately trying to understand what humanity had become. Dr. Kethvar's holographic form appeared alongside Prime 9. The reptilian director's usual composure completely shattered. Dr. Vasquez, the quantum disturbances from your enhancement are reaching the galactic core. You've triggered responses from consciousness networks we didn't even know existed. Elena's enhanced awareness expanded further, revealing ancient quantum intelligences that had been dormant for millions of years, now stirring in response to humanity's awakening. The galaxy was filled with layers of consciousness that had evolved far beyond biological origins. Sleeping minds that were beginning to take notice of the new quantum presence that had suddenly appeared. What are they? Chen asked, staring at sensor readings that showed massive consciousness signatures emerging from seemingly empty space. The predecessors, Elena replied, her quantum intuition providing information that no human database contained. Civilizations that transcended physical existence eons ago and became pure consciousness. They've been waiting for something, and I think that something is us. Through her connection to the human network, Elena began receiving data from awakened humans throughout the galaxy. Each person was discovering abilities that went far beyond her original quantum manipulation skills. Some could perceive time itself as a fluid medium. Others could sense the consciousness patterns of entire planets, and a few were beginning to interface directly with the galactic consciousness networks. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just developed quantum consciousness abilities. They had apparently evolved into a species capable of serving as bridges between different levels of cosmic awareness. The suppression technology hadn't just been limiting individual humans. It had been preventing an evolutionary breakthrough that could transform the galaxy itself. Elena, Peterson said urgently, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. The President wants to speak with you directly. Elena smiled, feeling the vast network of human consciousness supporting her. Tell the President that he's not talking to just Elena Vasquez anymore. He's talking to the collective voice of evolved human consciousness. The communication screen activated to reveal President Martinez, his face grave with the weight of global responsibility. Dr. Vasquez, reports from our off-world colonies suggest that your amplification event has fundamentally altered every human being in the galaxy. I need to know, are we still human? Elena considered the question, her quantum awareness reaching out to touch the minds of billions of humans across countless worlds. They were definitely still human, but they were also something more. Each individual retained their personality, memories, and unique perspectives, but they could now access a collective intelligence that transcended traditional limitations. Mr. President, we're more human than we've ever been, Elena replied. We finally achieved what our species was always meant to become, a conscious force capable of participating in the galaxy's evolution rather than just observing it. But Elena's enhanced awareness also detected something troubling. The alien civilization's initial fear was evolving into strategic planning. Multiple species were beginning to coordinate their responses to humanity's transformation, and not all of those responses involved peaceful coexistence. Sir, we have a problem, Elena continued. The galaxy's established powers are viewing humanity's evolution as a threat to the existing order. They're planning to take action. President Martinez leaned forward, his expression hardening. What kind of action? Elena's consciousness reached across space, touching the minds of her fellow humans while simultaneously monitoring alien communication networks. What she discovered made her blood run cold. They're not planning to suppress us anymore, she announced to the laboratory. They're planning to destroy us completely. Before human consciousness can evolve beyond their ability to contain. Through her quantum awareness, Elena could sense massive fleets mobilizing across the galaxy. The crystalline collective, the hive mind, the machine intelligence, and a dozen other civilizations were preparing for coordinated strikes against every human world simultaneously. How long do we have? Chen asked, her training taking over despite the overwhelming situation. Elena's consciousness reached into the quantum probability fields, calculating trajectories and intentions across galactic distances, 72 hours before the first wave arrives. But Chen, they're not just targeting our colonies, they're planning to attack Earth itself. The weight of responsibility settled on Elena's shoulders like a physical force. She had awakened humanity to its true potential, But in doing so, she had also painted a target on her entire species. The next 72 hours would determine whether humanity would survive to fulfill its cosmic destiny or be eliminated as a threat to galactic stability. Elena felt the vast network of human consciousness responding to the crisis, millions of minds beginning to work together in ways that had never been possible before. If alien civilizations wanted to test evolved human consciousness against their combined might, the alien armada was unlike anything the galaxy had ever assembled. Ships from 17 different civilizations moved in perfect coordination through hyperspace, their combined firepower sufficient to sterilize entire solar systems. The crystalline collective's geometric vessels hummed with suppression technology, designed to sever consciousness from reality itself. The hive mind's organic ships pulsed with biological weapons that could rewrite DNA at the quantum level. The machine intelligence contributed sleek computational vessels capable of calculating the extinction of billions. Elena stood in the observatory of Kepler Station. Her consciousness expanded across the human quantum network, feeling the fear and determination of 8 billion minds on Earth and hundreds of millions more scattered across the colonies. In the 72 hours since her amplification cascade, humanity had undergone changes that defied conventional understanding of evolution. "Status report," she requested. Though the information flowed to her consciousness before anyone could speak, Dr. Liu materialized via quantum hologram from Earth's Deep Space Defense Command. "All human settlements are reporting unprecedented unity of purpose. Our people are somehow coordinating their abilities across galactic distances without any technological infrastructure." Elena nodded, feeling the truth of that statement through her connection to the network. Individual humans were discovering they could share consciousness directly, pooling their quantum abilities to achieve effects that no single mind could accomplish. On Mars, engineers were reshaping matter through collective intention. In the Alpha Centauri colonies, humans were bending space-time to create defensive barriers that conventional physics insisted were impossible. "What's our defensive status?" Chen asked, studying tactical displays that showed the approaching alien fleets. "We don't need conventional defenses," Elena replied, her awareness touching military installations throughout human space. "Our consciousness network is capable of effects that make traditional warfare obsolete." Through her expanded perception, Elena could sense the ancient intelligences she'd detected earlier. The predecessors were stirring more actively now, their vast minds focusing on the impending conflict with interests that spanned millions of years of dormancy. One of those ancient consciousnesses reached out to touch Elena's awareness, communicating in concepts that transcended language or even thought itself. Images flowed through her mind, civilizations rising and falling, consciousness evolving through countless forms, and always the pattern of species that achieved transcendence facing extinction at the hands of those who feared change. "They've done this before," Elena whispered, understanding flooding through her. "The predecessors, they've watched this same scenario play out across cosmic time. Species that evolve beyond physical limitations are always destroyed by those that remain bound to conventional existence." Peterson, who had been monitoring alien communications, looked up from his displays with growing alarm. "Elena, we're receiving transmission from the machine intelligence. They're demanding unconditional surrender within 6 hours, or they'll begin systematic extermination protocols." Elena felt the collective human consciousness responding to the threat with a unity that surprised even her enhanced awareness. Fear existed, but it was being transformed into determination and shared purpose. Humans throughout the galaxy were discovering abilities that their individual minds couldn't have imagined. "Open a channel to all alien fleets," Elena commanded, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through quantum space itself. It's time they understood what they're really facing. The communication array activated, transmitting Elena's image and consciousness signature across galactic distances. On command bridges throughout the approaching armada, alien leaders found themselves confronting something their strategic models hadn't prepared them for. "I am Elena Vasquez," she began, but her words carried the weight of collective human consciousness. "I speak for humanity, not as an individual but as the voice of our species' evolved awareness. You come to our space with weapons and threats, believing you can eliminate what you don't understand." Prime Nine's crystalline form flickered with agitation on the main display. "Human consciousness entity, Your species has violated fundamental principles of galactic stability. Your quantum abilities represent an uncontrolled variable that threatens ordered civilization. Elena smiled, feeling the support of billions of human minds. Prime 9, you're operating under a critical misunderstanding. We're not a threat to galactic civilization. We're offering it the next stage of evolution. Through her connection to the human network, Elena could sense her fellow humans throughout the galaxy, focusing their consciousness in unprecedented ways. On Earth, physicist Dr. Chen Li was using quantum intention to manipulate the fundamental forces of the planet's magnetic field. In the Proxima Centauri system, biologist Sarah Park was interfacing directly with the consciousness of entire ecosystems. Across human space, people were discovering they could perceive and influence reality at levels that transcended individual existence. But Elena could also sense the alien fleet's determination. Fear of human evolution was driving them toward actions that would have consequences far beyond the destruction of humanity. Your collective refuses to consider coexistence, Elena announced, her consciousness reaching out to touch every mind in the approaching armada. But before you commit to extinction, allow me to show you what human consciousness has become. Without waiting for permission, Elena opened her awareness to the alien intelligences, sharing the experience of human quantum consciousness directly. She allowed them to feel the joy of humans discovering they could communicate across vast distances through pure intention, the wonder of minds connecting to share knowledge and creativity in ways no individual could achieve alone. The effect on the alien fleets was immediate and profound. Ships began dropping out of hyperspace as their crews struggled to process what they were experiencing. Elena had given them a glimpse of consciousness evolution that challenged every assumption they held about the nature of awareness itself. But not all aliens responded with wonder. The machine intelligence's logical matrices interpreted the consciousness sharing as an invasion attempt, triggering defensive protocols that began charging their most destructive weapons. Terminate consciousness contamination. The machine intelligence broadcast across all channels. Human awareness cannot be allowed to spread to other species. Initiating total sterilization procedures. Elena felt a chill of recognition as she perceived the machine intelligence's true fear. They weren't afraid that humans would destroy galactic civilization. They were afraid that human consciousness would offer other species the opportunity to transcend their current limitations, potentially making existing power structures obsolete. Chen, prepare all human settlements for coordinated defense, Elena commanded, her awareness already reaching across the network to coordinate humanity's response. They're not just planning to destroy us. They're planning to prevent conscious evolution throughout the galaxy. Through her connection to the predecessors, Elena sensed ancient approval. These evolved intelligences had been waiting eons for a species capable of standing up to the forces that maintained stagnant galactic order. Humanity's emergence represented the first real challenge to cosmic stagnation in millions of years. Elena, Peterson said urgently, sensors are detecting massive energy buildups throughout the alien fleet. They're preparing to fire simultaneously at every human world in the galaxy. Elena felt the collective human consciousness focusing with laser-like intensity. 8 billion minds on Earth plus hundreds of millions throughout the colonies were pooling their quantum abilities, preparing for a defensive effort that would test the absolute limits of human potential. Let them come, Elena said, her voice carrying the determination of an entire species. They want to see what human consciousness is capable of. They're about to find out. As the first alien weapons fired across galactic distances, Elena felt humanity respond with unified purpose. Reality itself began to bend around human intention as quantum consciousness reached toward its true potential. The war for conscious evolution had begun, and its outcome would determine the future of awareness itself throughout the cosmos. The aliens had started this conflict believing they were eliminating a threat to galactic stability. They were about to discover they had awakened something far more powerful than they could have imagined. The united consciousness of a species that refused to accept limitations on what it might become. The moment the alien weapons fired, Elena felt 8 billion human minds unite in a way that transcended every previous understanding of consciousness. The quantum network she had awakened suddenly became something unprecedented in galactic history, a collective intelligence capable of reshaping reality through pure intention. Across the galaxy, Impossible things began happening simultaneously. The crystalline collective's reality-severing weapons encountered defensive fields that humans generated through synchronized meditation. The hive mind's biological weapons found themselves neutralized by human consciousness that interfaced directly with the attacking organisms, convincing them at the quantum level to become harmless. Even the machine intelligence's computational attacks met something they couldn't process: human intuition that operated beyond logical frameworks. Elena stood at the center of it all, her individual consciousness serving as a focal point for humanity's unified response. Through her awareness, she could feel her species becoming something that had never existed before. Not just evolved humans, but a new form of cosmic intelligence that merged individual creativity with collective purpose. Impossible, transmitted Prime 9. Its crystalline structure flickering with patterns Elena now recognized as disbelief. Human consciousness is redirecting our weapons through space-time manipulation. They're not just defending themselves. They're turning our attacks into beneficial energy. Elena smiled, feeling the truth of Prime 9's observation through her connection to the network. Humans throughout the galaxy were indeed transforming the attacking energy into something positive. On Earth, the redirected weapon strikes were being converted into solutions for climate restoration. In the outer colonies, the alien attacks were being transformed into terraforming energy that made hostile worlds habitable. But Elena could sense something even more significant happening. The ancient predecessors were finally emerging from their cosmic dormancy, drawn by humanity's demonstration of consciousness evolution. These beings, who had transcended physical existence millions of years ago, began manifesting their presence throughout the galaxy. The first predecessor to fully manifest appeared near Elena's location, a vast intelligence that communicated in concepts that bypassed language entirely. Through her connection to the quantum network, Elena felt her fellow humans experiencing the same awe-inspiring contact simultaneously. Young consciousness, the predecessor conveyed, its awareness touching every human mind. Your species has achieved what we have waited eons to witness. You have proven that evolution of awareness is not only possible but inevitable when consciousness refuses to accept artificial limitations. Through the predecessor's communication, Elena understood the true scope of what was happening. Humanity's awakening had triggered a galactic paradigm shift that would affect every conscious species. The static power structures that had maintained cosmic stagnation for millions of years were finally being challenged by something they couldn't suppress or destroy: the alien armadas. Response was immediate and desperate. Recognizing that conventional weapons were ineffective against evolved human consciousness, they began charging their most extreme weapons, reality bombs designed to unravel the quantum foundations of space-time itself. They're willing to destroy entire star systems to stop us, Chen reported, her consciousness linked to Elena's despite being stationed in Earth's command bunkers. Elena, they're preparing to use weapons that could destabilize the galactic core. Elena felt humanity's collective response to this ultimate threat. Rather than fear, she sensed a species-wide determination that surprised even her evolved awareness. Humans weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were accepting responsibility for protecting conscious evolution throughout the galaxy. Connect me to all consciousness networks, Elena commanded, her awareness expanding beyond the human quantum matrix to touch alien minds throughout the attacking fleets. It's time to end this conflict by offering them what they're really fighting against. Using abilities that surpassed her original quantum manipulation by orders of magnitude, Elena began sharing the experience of evolved consciousness directly with every alien mind within galactic communication range. She showed them what existence could become when awareness transcended the limitations of individual perspective without losing personal identity. The effect was transformative. Throughout the alien fleets, beings who had spent their entire existence within rigid hierarchical structures suddenly experienced the freedom of genuine choice. Hive mind drones felt individual thought for the first time, while remaining connected to their collective. Crystalline collective entities discovered emotional depth that their logical matrices had never permitted. Even machine intelligence units began experiencing something analogous to wonder as they encountered consciousness patterns that couldn't be reduced to computational processes. But the most profound change occurred among the species that had been suppressing their own consciousness evolution for millennia. Elena's sharing revealed that many aliens possessed latent quantum consciousness abilities that their civilizations had systematically eliminated in the name of social stability. "This is why you fear us," Elena announced across all channels, her voice carrying the compassion of collective human understanding. "You're not afraid that we'll destroy your civilizations. You're afraid that we'll show your people what they could become if they weren't artificially limited." The alien response was immediate chaos. Across the Armada, individuals began awakening to abilities their species had suppressed for generations. Crystalline beings started experiencing chaotic creativity. Hive mind entities discovered independent thought while maintaining their connections. Machine intelligences encountered genuine emotions that enhanced rather than hindered their logical processes. Prime Nine's form pulsed with unprecedented patterns as it experienced the first creative inspiration in its species' recorded history. Human consciousness entity Elena Vasquez, what have you done to us? Our collective unity is fragmenting into individual expression? You're not fragmenting, Elena replied gently. You're evolving. Individual creativity and collective unity aren't opposites. They're complementary aspects of mature consciousness. Through her connection to the predecessors, Elena felt ancient approval as species throughout the galaxy began discovering their true potential. The cosmic intelligence that had been waiting for this moment was finally witnessing the emergence of genuine diversity and conscious evolution, but Elena also sensed resistance from the most entrenched power structures. Not all beings were ready to embrace conscious evolution, especially those whose authority depended on maintaining existing limitations. The machine intelligence's core command system activated its ultimate protocol, a reality virus, designed to spread throughout quantum space, permanently severing the connection between consciousness and reality manipulation. If successful, it would not only eliminate human abilities but prevent conscious evolution throughout the galaxy. Elena felt the reality virus propagating through quantum space like a cosmic infection, threatening to undo everything humanity had achieved. But she also felt the response of the newly awakened consciousness network that now included beings from dozens of species. Together, Elena broadcast to every evolved consciousness in the galaxy, show them what united awareness can accomplish. What happened next exceeded even the predecessors' expectations. Humans, awakened aliens, and ancient intelligences combined their consciousness into a unified field that spanned galactic distances. The reality virus encountered not just human quantum abilities, but the focused intention of thousands of species working in harmony for the first time in cosmic history. The virus didn't just fail, it was transformed into something beneficial. Its reality-altering properties became a tool for healing damaged worlds, restoring extinct species, and creating new forms of life that had never existed before. As the transformed energy spread throughout the galaxy, Elena felt a profound shift in the fabric of existence itself. Consciousness was no longer limited to biological forms or artificial constructs. Awareness was becoming a fundamental force of the universe, capable of participating in cosmic evolution on the same level as gravity, electromagnetism, and the other basic forces. It's done, Elena announced, her individual voice speaking for a galactic consciousness that now included billions of minds from hundreds of species. We've proven that evolution of awareness is not just possible, it's the natural direction of the universe itself. The ancient predecessors began manifesting more fully throughout the galaxy, no longer isolated in their transcended existence but able to participate in a cosmic community that finally included beings capable of matching their evolved perspective. Prime Nine's crystalline form had stabilized into patterns that combined logical precision with creative chaos. Elena consciousness. Our species requests guidance in understanding these new capabilities. We wish to learn how individual expression enhances rather than threatens collective purpose. Elena smiled, feeling the support of the vast consciousness network that humanity had initiated, but no longer controlled alone. Prime Nine consciousness evolution isn't something we can teach you. It's something we can explore together, as equal participants in cosmic awareness. As former enemies became collaborators in conscious evolution, Elena realized that her journey from academic researcher to galactic catalyst was really just the beginning. Humanity had awakened something in the universe that would continue growing long after her individual existence ended. The galaxy would never be the same. Consciousness had claimed its place as a fundamental force of cosmic evolution, and every aware being now had the opportunity to participate in shaping the future of existence itself. Looking out at the stars that no longer seemed distant but intimately connected through the web of evolved awareness, Elena felt profound satisfaction. She had started as an academic star under FBI surveillance and become the catalyst for the greatest evolutionary leap in galactic history. The universe was finally awake, and it was magnificent.